Minecraft farms are more than just carrots and potatoes. In fact, you can somehow farm some pure metals in the game. But how can this be done? And which ones are the most useful in the early and late game? Well, that's what we're exploring today. If you need some resources or are just looking for something to do, this video is for you. Let's do it. In 10, iron. Iron golem farming uses villager mechanics to produce iron, as well as their byproducts such as poppies. Usually an iron golem farm is a player constructed village in which iron golems are spawned and then either killed immediately or moved to a holding cell outside the village boundary for later killing. Iron golem farming is preferable to other methods of iron farming from zombies and skeletons due to just a much higher chance of actually dropping iron and therefore much higher quantities of iron. In Java Edition, a villager can attempt to spawn an iron golem while not having a golem alive within a box radius of 16 blocks around the villager, and more than 30 seconds has passed since the last attempt. An iron golem needs an available volume in which to spawn in. They need an area to spawn. And there must be at least 3 transparent blocks above the spawning surface, and that surface must also be solid and flat, not like a bottom slab. Zombies nearby also increase the spawn rates of iron golems. If a zombie is seen by villagers, they start to panic and increase the spawn rate attempts. In Bedrock Edition though, you need at least 20 beds, 10 villagers, and they all need to have used their workstation within the past in-game day. Then the golem will spawn at the center of the village, making it much more difficult to farm in Bedrock Edition than in Java, just another reason why Java is better. Hit at 9, gold. Zombified piglet farming is a method of obtaining gold nuggets and rotten flesh renewably by using spawn platforms or nether portals to spawn zombified piglins and then moving them into a killing zone. The rotten flesh can be traded to cleric villagers in large amounts to gain emeralds easily, and then you can use the gold as gold for a beacon or maybe for netherite, or then you can feed it into a piglin trading farm, but that's a whole other thing. To construct a farm in the nether, one can build platforms for zombified piglins to spawn on, with trapdoors on the edge, and then place slabs on the floors of all the surrounding areas, or just fill them into their solid, or just build this on the nether roof. So zombified piglins will only spawn on those platforms. The simplest zombie pigman farms dig a 3x1 trench and then make a layer of dirt, leaving just a 1 block space, and then you shoot the zombified piglins and then you start swiping at them with the sword at their legs until they just jump into the trench. You can also turn on subtitles so you know when all the pigmen are gone so that you can actually leave safely. To get maximum spawn rates though, you gotta slab off an area that is 128 blocks in diameter. Yeah, great, fun. You can also use magma blocks, which only zombified piglins can spawn on if you're in 1.16 or later. In 8, emeralds. An emerald farm is pretty simple and just requires either a load of farmer villagers and a melon and pumpkin farm, or very grateful librarian and cartographer villagers. See, with the farmers, after being cured once, the melon and pumpkin trades end up being 1 for 1, meaning that you can basically grow emeralds. But you can only make up to like 12 trades with the villager before they run out of stock of that item temporarily. So that means you need a load of them since it's a 1-to-1 ratio. With the cartographer and librarian method, you need a librarian who sells glass and a cartographer who buys glass panes. Making those 1 emerald each, with making 6 glass turning into 16 glass panes, it ends up becoming 16 emeralds. And even with a 1-to-1 for the glass, which I don't even think that it is, that's still a 10 emerald profit each time, making emeralds the easiest beacon based block to get. Plus, you can also use it to, in essence, get free diamond tools and armor if you have an armor or toolsmith as well. And it's 7, endermen. The purpose of an enderman trap is for easy access of killing endermen. It is possible for the user to create such a trap that it can be used by simply standing still and then looking at the enderman. This angers the ones you look at, luring them into the trap. Most enderman traps though are best suited in the end or warped forests, since endermen spawn at a considerably higher rate there, but you can still create this trap in the overworld, but endermen will spawn far less often. Just do it in the end, okay? The farm is built in the end at least 128 blocks away from any spawnable block, so that the enderman can only spawn there. And you place a named endermite in a minecart in the center of the platform, up a few blocks so they can't actually hurt it. A platform is then built for the enderman to fall onto from spawning pads built up at least 42 blocks above the platform, with rings built upwards to prevent the enderman from falling out of the area that isn't the platform. So then the endermen, as they fall, take 19.5 hearts of damage, leaving them on half a heart. Then you can simply punch them to death and then get to level 30 in minutes. But also you get a load of ender pearls if you like to use those, and I kinda do, they're good. And at 6, mob. Mob farms are structures built to acquire mob drops more easily and in larger numbers. They usually consist of two components: a large dark room to spawn mobs, which are then funneled to a central location, and then a mob grinder to kill them off quickly and efficiently. Farms floating high in the sky can achieve the best spawn rates during the day and night if you are far away from caves, as they represent the only viable spawning ground. However, building one in survival is rather dangerous, and due to their height they stop working completely when you descend underground to mine, unless you build it like just above the ground. One of the most popular overworld designs for a general mob farm is based on a tower of spawning pads that are periodically flushed with water to push the mobs off so that they die of fall damage. The water comes from a central pillar of dispensers and observers that cascade from a single block between platforms. This type of farm is known for its high production rates, simplicity, reliability, and ease of build. However, there's also that good old-fashioned classic 4 platform section that are 8 blocks long by 8 blocks, and then you have the water coming in and they push them into the center, then they fall. That's the classic one. You can't beat classic. Actually, you can. Go with the water tower. Halfway through into number 5, Witch. Witches are hostile mobs that drop the widest array of items ever. Their normal drops are redstone, glowstone, sugar, gunpowder, glass bottles, spider eyes, and sticks. The sticks are dropped twice as often as the others, but I mean, everyone can use a couple sticks, right? Witches spawn as part of the normal hostile mob spawning exclusively in swamp huts, as part of villager raids, or when lightning strikes a villager. They have 26 health, which is higher than the typical hostile mob, but they can also regenerate their health and throw poison attacks. The best way to farm them is to kill them off instantly, since working with player kills can end up being a bit time consuming. There is also a design by Ilmango that uses pistons, soul sand, and trapdoors to cause the witches to fall through the floor. This has the advantage over water flush designs, since the movement of the floor actually completes more quickly than the movement of water. And it uses soul sand as the floor, since the soul sand sucks you into itself, making you a couple pixels into the block. This mechanic means that when it's pushed by a piston, when the block is pushed by a piston, you will actually end up falling through the block instead of just standing on top of it. Which, yes, pun intended, is how this farm actually works. And then they can fall to their death, or they can entity cram, or they can just suffocate. Whatever you want. However crazy you feel. In it for raids. Raid farming is a means to obtain items dropped by raid mobs, such as pillagers, vindicators, witches, evokers, and ravagers. Farms can be made from a village with a spawning platform for the raiders, or made at a pillager outpost. In Bedrock Edition, a raid farm also yields special items dropped by mobs during these raids: emeralds, enchanted books, iron tools, and armor, half of which have enchantments. But in Java Edition, getting Hero of the Village has the additional benefit of making some resources renewable, especially clay. Raid farms are primarily built for 2 drops though: emeralds and totems of undying. Most raid farms provide a sufficient amount of emeralds to allow players to disregard the prices of villager trading due to just the sheer amount of emeralds they possess. And additionally, raid farms are an easy way to get totems of undying, allowing players to use them without fear of losing them. Additionally, raids can also drop saddles, iron axes, crossbows, ominous banners, and witch drops including sticks, gunpowder, redstone, glowstone, sugar, spider eyes, and glass bottles, as I described earlier. In Java Edition though, only mob drops are available from raid farming, no other special items. Getting close to the end, in number 3, Creeper. Aw man. Creeper farms in essence can be made like any other generic mob farm, but one little detail that will make it so that only creepers and spiders can spawn, and then you add another trick that gets rid of the spiders. Charged creeper farming is also an easy method of creating charged creepers for later detonation to obtain mob heads, as charged creepers are only created when a creeper is struck by lightning. However, what you can do is just build a generic mob farm and then add trapdoors to the bottom of the layer above you. So basically, instead of being 2 blocks high, it ends up being 1.8 blocks high, which is the height of a player, but also, specifically, the height of a creeper. Skeletons and zombies are 2 blocks high, and Endermen are 3, and it will only try and spawn a baby zombie if a regular zombie can be spawned, since only after allowing a zombie to spawn does it determine if it's a baby or not. Meaning that now, after adding only trapdoors, in this area the only thing that can spawn are creepers and spiders, and since spiders need a seemingly 3x3 area to to spawn instead of their normal 2x2 size. Every 3 blocks you just add a bottom slab to the floor and you shouldn't have to really worry about spiders. If this, I mean, I'm not sure if that works, but if it doesn't, a carpet or sign will work as well, but this may interfere with some water-based farms. So yeah, if you're having them being pushed out by water, use the bottom slab or just deal with the spiders. But ultimately, in at number 2, Shulker. Shulker farming is the process of using a mechanic where a shulker that is hit by a shulker bullet causes it to have a chance for a new shulker to form, allowing for a renewable source of shulker shells. It's also worth noting that from 1.17 to 1.18, this mechanic is only available for Java Edition, but from 1.19 onwards, when it's released at least, you will be able to farm shulkers on Bedrock Edition. There is a chance that a new shulker of the same color will spawn when one shulker hits another one, or itself, with a shulker bullet. The shulker must have its lid open to spawn a new shulker though. The shulker spawns where the old shulker was before it teleported. The chance of this happening decreases with the amount of shulkers in an 8-block radius, and when there's more than 5, no additional ones will spawn. The probability is reduced for shulkers with less than half of their health remaining, and there are actually 2 main approaches to shulker farming designs: a cell-based design and reactors. Cell-based designs maintain a shulker in a breeding cell, removing the duplicate shulkers from around the breeding cell as quickly as possible, and on the other hand, reactors rely on having a large number of effective breeding cells and just letting the numbers of the shulkers naturally saturate, collecting the drops from within the reactor as shulkers gradually die off. Both designs have their strengths and weaknesses. Reactors are simpler but much bigger and resource intensive. And finally, in at number 1, Wither Skulls. A Wither Skeleton farm is a mob grinder that involves creating a spawning pad inside of a nether fortress while removing all other mob spawn points nearby. Wither Skeletons have a chance to drop a Wither Skeleton skull, 3 of which are required to create a Wither, which drops a nether star used to craft a beacon. Wither Skeletons also drop coal, which means that this is a renewable source of coal, and in essence a coal farm. They also drop bones, which can be turned into bone meal, and stone swords, although we don't really care about the swords. A typical farm of this type usually means destroying all platforms on which Wither Skeletons can spawn, and then replacing them with collection points, usually lines of blocks with pressure plates on them that the pistons just kind of like push them into a grinding point, or using their AI and named piglins to have them pathfind to a killing chamber where you'd use a looting 3 sword for the most effective farm. Covering the spawning platform in wither roses generated by a wither when killing a mob would also mean that only wither skeletons would spawn on the platform that you built, so no more blazes, zombified piglins, or magma cubes. Just the good stuff, just those tall, burnt, skelety boys. The rates can and will vary depending on size, spawn proofing, amount of layers, etc., but it's definitely worth it if you want a large amount of beacons or a renewable source of coal. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been Endermen Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video. The purpose of an Enderman trap is for easy access. Oh, I need to say the number. Look, okay, I woke up an hour ago. Cut me some slack. This is why I don't film in the morning. This is the morning for me still.